curating art exhibitions, taking international cooking classes, being madly in love with the US Virgin Islands. Aubrey Burgess and I have more than a few things in common. We met in 2014 in St. Thomas, US Virgin Islands, and have stayed solid friends ever since. I really wanted to include a discussion with a curator in this series because the creativity of the curator is rarely celebrated. I mean, it's their vision that leads us to the pieces that we love. Aubrey and I connected recently to discuss everything art, wellness, and travel for this episode of Kindred Spirits. Okay, welcome to Kindred Spirits. Thank you for joining me, Aubrey. It's wonderful to see your face finally after way too long.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's great to see you as well, Chelsea.
So I like to start with a little story about how we met, but I actually don't remember how we met. I know we met in St. Thomas, obviously, but it's been so long. You just kind of have always been around in my life. So do you remember exactly how we met?
Yeah, we met on a Sunday with your friend that you worked in the jewelry store with
Okay.
at Brewers Bay.
We met at Brewers?
Yeah, I said, who's that girl? They
Oh
said,
my
that's
God.
Chelsea. That's Chelsea. This long-legged girl got up, okay, had a cigarette in the hand, okay. It was a Sunday. It was why we were all there.
Yep. Sundays at
And
Brewers. That used
exactly. And then
Damn.
I would see you afterwards, I guess, somewhere in town. We're going to leave it
Oh,
right there. Yes.
right, right. Somewhere around smoking my cigarettes. You know, I quit smoking finally.
Good,
Thank
good. How do you
God.
feel?
Oh, I feel so much better. It was so easy to quit. It was like, why did I even do it for so long?
Wow, good.
But
Thank
yeah,
you.
I'm really glad that I stopped. It was it's definitely, I don't know, it's a young folks game, that smoking cigarettes, you know?
Must be. I hardly see people who smoke cigarettes. Of course, now they're vaping. They're vaping, these
Right.
kids. So that's the
Yeah.
deal.
I'm
But
glad
anyway,
I never
how
got
you
into
met.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we met at Brewers. Cute. Yeah, I don't even remember. I'm like, how did I meet you? It's just endless memories in St. Thomas, but I couldn't find the beginning.
I can say the same thing after
those
25 years.
those Sundays at Brewers used to be fun though. Oh my
That's right.
God.
It's a great beach, especially on Sundays.
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
awesome. So now you are in Maryland
Yeah,
and I never get to see you anymore.
I know.
So sad.
I know. We'll reconnect post COVID.
No. So how are you readjusting from island life back to stateside life?
Every day is another experience where I think I'm definitely acclimating. Okay. It's been 3 years here now. But it was tough in the beginning because things are so American. Even now, people, like I don't fit in. I never fit in. That's why we travel. Okay. We don't have to. We fit in wherever we go. So we can't stay anywhere too long so we don't fit in, I guess, even though places feel like home. So this is becoming to feel like home, if that makes any sense. But, it's not Caribbean. It's not just go outside. It's not palm trees. It's not sand. The people vibe is totally different. The political scene is, and everything is politics and everything is energy. It's totally different for me, but I'm adjusting.
You're adjusting. Good.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad that you're adjusting. You definitely seem to be flourishing, not just adjusting, but thriving and flourishing. So I'm really excited to talk about that with you today. But yeah, it's really difficult to when you get off of the rock and go back to the States, it's really hard to adjust to. I have a hard time even adjusting to driving. I'm like always feeling like I'm on the wrong side of the road when I'm on the right side of the road. And I'm still adjusting to having to actually take stop signs seriously because in
Well, there are
St.
people
Thomas,
here.
right?
I know.
In
Well,
St. Thomas, we roll and coast and stop, and it's more of a pause, right? We pause and then we just kind of keep going. Very bad habit, but that is how we roll in St. Thomas. So
it's funny. I was in traffic the other day and they had to direct us in an odd way. So you had to drive on the left for a distance. And I was like, finally, some normalcy. the first thing that went in my head. This feels perfectly fine driving on the left. It's how we did it. So anyway, but no, I've adjusted. It's working well. I'm trying to prosper in the pandemic, keep my immune system strong, and be in it and do my part.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that you're doing well. And have you been back to St. Thomas to visit?
I just left. I was there in August. I
Okay,
rented a
good.
house in Peterborough, got to see friends and family. Every day was like Sunday because it's so quiet due to COVID. I got to St. John where I spent 14 years of my life. That was great. You know,
What do you think is so special about the Virgin Islands? Because I feel I have actually met friends in other places who have lived in the Virgin Islands, and we have this sort of VI bond. So it's kind of like even after you leave the VI, or maybe you're not there anymore for an extended period of time, once you find out somebody has lived there, you automatically become friends again. It's like, oh my God, you understand the amazing, beautiful Virgin Islands. We have so much to talk about, and you kind of bond over that. So what do you think it is that's so special about the Virgin Islands?
it's the people and the experiences, and each island is different. I mean, you never laugh more than you laugh when you're on St. Thomas, for sure. Okay. St. John is love city for a reason. You never get more hugs. Okay. People aren't touching each other in St. Thomas, but they're hugging you in St. John. And St. Croix is just it's hospitable. It's very hospitable. So each island has its own flavor. That makes a difference. It's the exchange of people from around the world that literally came into our living rooms every day on these big boats called cruise ships, and just the exchanges that you have of living in a place that has the trap of a tourist economy while functioning as an island territory nation. I call it. People with its own identity. It's a pretty incredible place. You either love it or you hate it.
This is true.
Yeah.
It's not for the weak of mind or faint of heart.
At
But
all. Not for very long.
I miss St. Thomas every day. So love and blessings to the VI. We are not there right now, but we are always with you guys in spirit. And yeah, hope to see the island soon myself for a visit at least. So I was doing some reading about you, and I found out something that I didn't know, which was that your grandfather owned a vineyard.
No, actually, he made wine. That's different.
Okay.
He made wine, and from my understanding, because I never met him, across from the house where the homestead is, there weren't homes at the time, and he was a gardener. He came from a history of North Carolinians that worked the land for somebody, came north, and that's where he did his gig. But in the backyard, there were grapes. Always, we were never allowed to pick the grapes, and they were for the wine. Okay, we were told his grandfather was dead, so I don't know who was making the wine. All right, probably his son who lived there as well. My grandmother lived there as well, and the only picture I have of him is of him. And I was looking at the leaves, going, "Those are grape leaves. That's what this man was doing. That's what he was doing." And I thought that was really interesting. So if I ask people now, because there's like one living descendant of his kids, they would be able to tell me the stories. But I think that's really, it makes sense now. It all makes sense.
So is there a history in your family of culinary and of food? And because I have been blessed to have you cook for me before, and Lord have mercy, you are a very, very good cook, and I welcome your meals at any day. So is that kind of maybe where you got influence? Is it a few generations back, this interest in food and making your grandfather making his own wine? And because you're very well versed in the culinary arts, to say the least.
I don't know if that's where it came from. Quite honestly, in my house, I have no idea. We had food, we ate. That was the deal. It was no big deal. But we ate well, I guess. I mean, by the time things were lean, but by the time I came along, things were better. So we were moving on up. I was the youngest. Again, things were lean, but I had an appreciation of food the entire time, without a doubt. I remember watching my mother cook. It always starts in the kitchen with your mother or whoever's the primary caretaker and what they eat. And that's it. And then how our family members ate and different people. And people would always come to our house for Thanksgiving, you know? So she must have been good. I remember her teaching herself to cook, but the cousins and everybody would come down on Thanksgiving to my house, and that's where they ate when I was a little boy. You know, so I was
Yeah,
surrounded
so
by
the food
food.
is good. The food is good. Nobody's coming on Thanksgiving if the food is whack. So
And especially as big as my family was, I had plenty of other places to go. You know, there were like 9 brothers. So in my father's family, so they could have gone somewhere else, but no, they came to our house and they ate. So I guess food was a central part of it. And then it just became more important as I got older, and saw more. You know, you go to people's houses where food was different. And that was always attractive. And we were always hungry. So that was a big part of it too. There never seemed to be enough of it. Okay, let me tell you that. So yeah, I guess that's a point. Yeah. So to answer your question, it starts in your family, or at least in mine, and then got more interesting after high school when I went to work with a friend of mine who convinced me to take his job. He was like, "You should come work with this lady," and he would say things and words I didn't understand, and because I'm always hungry for knowledge I would want to know. So he brings me into the kitchen of a woman who just came from northern Italy, and it was so that he could get out of the kitchen and become a waiter, all right, and make real money. So I took his place, and I was introduced to great arugula and endive and radicchio and veal stocks and things at that level on that side. While on the other side, while I was doing arts, one of my mentors, I was a chef by trade anyway, so I was always in the kitchen with her. So I had the Northern Italian influence of a woman straight off the boat who had a amazing restaurant on the sea in a very wealthy part of New Jersey. And then the other side of the tracks where I was exposed to a woman who grew her own food, went to culinary school, knew good food, and taught me hands-on. So I was surrounded by it for years.
that is really amazing. And you've been traveling and learning different cuisines as well, right?
Yeah, when I was the first chance I got, I traveled. Where'd I go? I think I would just go to. I think I went to Cape Cod. I think I went on the Cape and spent a summer around different people, and that was an eye-opening experience. It was like just a Mexican restaurant, but it was very very smart people, very liberal democratic people during a summer, which was cool, and access to really good food in Hyannis. That was a start. And then right after that, I went to Europe. I bought a $99 ticket to London one way.
Oh my God, those were the days.
In between that time, I went to culinary school to throw that in. So I did actually learn my craft. I didn't graduate. I stopped when it came time to give up too much money. I was like, I'm out of here. If I need a cake, I'll go to Paris. So interesting enough, I end up in Europe.
So you ended up in Europe, and you got stuck in London, right?
Yeah, I did get stuck in London. How'd you know that? That's funny. I got stuck in Amsterdam, actually. That's another story. Okay.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, I know. It wasn't that bad. But I ended up having to, not being able to go back into London from Amsterdam after my first West Indian Carnival in Brixton, as a matter of fact. I mean, not Brixton, and where were we? Notting Hill Gate Carnival. And so I'm going to take a vacation with friends. We're going to go to ski. We're going to go, not ski, but we're going to go to northern, where are we going to? We're going to Italy, and then decided no, they bailed on me. So I had to go somewhere because I had the time off and the money. So I went to Amsterdam, decided to be responsible and come back a day early. And my pay stub fell out of my passport and I got popped and they sent me back. So I was stuck for days and days and days. So they figured out how to get me home. And that's when I really had my love affair with Europe and different countries. I tried to go back to London 3 times and got caught, as a matter of fact. You can't go back in once you're thrown out for at least 7 years.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I never knew that part. That's crazy.
Yes, the status is called persona non grata. I hadn't committed any crimes. The issue was that I had worked and there was evidence to support that I was doing what the passport said not to do.
Right.
And at that time, you could come back and forth all the time. You know, terrorism wasn't at all as we know it today.
Right.
Yeah. So I wouldn't try that now. I was but a young man.
So which trip would you say is when you learned the most about yourself? Would it be during this time, or would it be maybe another time in your life?
Probably that time, without a doubt. I was back and forth to London. I got to go to museums and I got to meet incredible people, and I had a very international crowd and it was very comfortable for me. My posse at the time was from uh, the West Indies, Thailand, Scotland, India, Italy, and London, and we ran thick as thieves. And with these people came different experiences, and that's when you start to begin to learn yourself. And in London, at my first carnival, come on.
I know I've never been to that carnival actually, and I was a few months ago. I was thinking, oh, maybe next year I'll go, but now it seems like that might not happen either.
Let's
But
say
I've
positive.
heard that it's fun. I've
Yeah,
heard
it's
that
amazing.
Nottingham Carnival is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about some of the earliest artwork that you got, because I actually still have a piece that I purchased from you back when we were in St. Thomas, and you're really starting to push Aubrey Artworks. So when did you really start getting, from the culinary arts into other types of art, visual arts and theater and other things that you're interested in? What was that influence? Where did that come from?
It came from, I guess, the art side came from home. Red Bank, the same place where the food side came from, was all under one roof. I was always around creatives, without a doubt, and worked for a master craftsman when I was in the seventh grade. So I was always surrounded by these creatives, but it's never anything I thought I would do. In fact, I'm not even sure how good I was at it. And I wasn't an artist. I worked for a master craftsman in woodworking who then phased into stained glass. By that time, I went to go play tennis and party. So I got my friends to take my job, who are now master craftsmen, and their family members are as well, in the art of stained glass. But when I got more serious with it or passionate, it became my side gig or a part of me in St. Thomas, as a matter of fact. And there came a point where I was teaching students and I didn't want them to do a final exam. They were a different lot. They weren't the traditional lot at all. And this was a very conservative school in urban St. Thomas, as a matter of fact. I gave the kids a proposition. I said, if you do this particular project that I propose to you, we can consider it your final exam. So I need you to combine elements of art and tell us the story at museum quality, museum level of Garden Street in St. Thomas, as a matter of fact, and the surrounding area. I want you to cover the synagogues. I want you to cover, because it's the oldest synagogue in the Western Hemisphere, right? I want you to look at it through the lens of an artist. Tell the story. It needs to have a writing element and a creative element. And they said, oh, of course we want to do that because, we don't have to do a final exam, because they knew my final exam wasn't going to be any joke. I was teaching AP English, honors English, and a very developmental level of English in 3 different grades. So I combined them together, had them work with one another. And Senator Myron Jackson, saw the work over my shoulder somewhere and asked me what I was doing. And I showed him. He said it belongs in the gallery. I was like, I don't know about that, because these kids, I'm not taking them anywhere. They had driven me crazy. I stopped the project at one point. And then I shared with them what he said, and they pleaded that we continue. And 3 days later, the work was in a gallery. So that's when I knew I had something. It wasn't me. It was the students. It was always the students. So it's always been my MO. I trust the process. I could guide people through stuff because I'm a coach in that sense. But that really started my wanting to take this more seriously. And then the Virgin Islands Council on the Arts, Betty Mahoney, said, you can't keep this work on the shelf. Nobody's going to see it. So you got to get it out there. And from that moment on, Aubrey Artworks was born.
Beautiful. Yeah, the Virgin Islands is a very good place for sort of helping to facilitate that creative energy. Maybe you have to, because it is such a small island, or the islands themselves are so small, you often may have to leave island to see for your projects to reach its full potential. But yeah, it definitely influenced me a lot creatively there as well. So that's really beautiful to kind of hear. I remember when, you know, you were going through kind of starting Aubrey Artworks and getting it going. And I was just like, oh, this is amazing. Yes, this is awesome. I love it. Because I have always been a curator and somebody that's not only just wanting to produce my own creative work, but also wanting to showcase and, you know, celebrate and highlight other artists as well. So we've always kind of shared that passion. And
You were in my first show, and you gave me a piece, and it was a nude of a girl sitting on a bed, and I covered the sign of the Virgin Islands Council on the Arts with that mesh print of the woman on the bed, and I got phone calls from the governor's office the next day. You know,
oh,
we received money from
yes.
the National Endowment from the Arts. You can't have her up there. And I still have it in photograph somewhere as well. I saw it in a file recently. I said, Chelsea, never remember this. That was, you couldn't go to the show. You got sick. We got a big argument. It was hilarious.
I had a double ear infection and we were sitting there causing an island-wide scandal with with this nude. And I was like, oh my God.
I remember the protocol director saying, I don't think that that's appropriate. And of course, I kept it up there for hours, as a matter of fact, and it looked great. I found the file the other day of old, in fact, it's probably still on an old Aubrey Artworks Facebook page that just merged. But I was like, that's a Chelsea piece.
Yeah.
That's so fun. And interesting, it was a nude. Yeah. You were racy even then. Anyway.
Always. Yeah, I remember being so excited about just your presence there in the Virgin Islands, and also for that reason, you know, what we did back then. Now, if you think about it, I've seen a lot more racy fine art nudes and body paintings and things done by other artists since then. But when we kind of did that show, I hadn't really seen a lot of that going on in the art community in the Virgin Islands. Not saying that nobody was doing it, but it wasn't really being shown. It was still very conservative. And since then, I've seen a lot more artistic events and other things that have been curated. And I was like, wow, I think it was Shaniqua George. She did a whole series of body painted women. And
Really?
yeah, and I was like, go St. Thomas. Like it's an important conversation around just, you know, the human body and the human form, and opening that up to artistic interpretation in a non-sexualized way and in a healthy sexualized way. So yeah, but when we did that show, I had never even seen any nudes in St. Thomas personally.
Well, I tell you,
Not
it's
saying that they
moving
weren't there,
on.
but I hadn't seen any yet.
Right. Well, it's funny. I keep my thumb on what's going on in the art scene. I just picked up Augustin Kevin Holder, as one of an Aubrey Artworks artist in the Virgin Islands, as well as Sarah Hayes, whose work I have right next to me. And of course, I worked with Kim Lyons for a while. I still have Shamo and Lanice in my corner there, and Jared. So there's a lot happening there now. It's much more progressive. It's pretty cool. Actually, it's beautiful. The work that's coming out of there is unbelievable. A new gallery just opened next to my old office, which is really amazing, and it looks good, and it's hip, and it's stuff's happening.
Yeah, it's definitely blossoming. It used to kind of be only paintings of old men in boats and only paintings of fish and, you know, just things that tourists would be attracted to, and nothing else. You know,
in many places, there was always an undercover, not even an undercurrent. Depends on how deep you delve into the culture, you could find work, and you didn't have to look that hard at all. There's Peter Gonzalez. There's several artists on St. Croix who are beyond what you're used to seeing. But it's really about how deep one is willing to go to find the work, and it's there. So it's definitely.
And you know, it's another thing that's really interesting with COVID times, because I wonder how the art scene is going to change there post-COVID, because everything has always been geared towards attracting tourists from the cruise ships, you know? So anything that was not a fish or a boat was not really on the main street, was not really, you know, accessible, unless you're local and you know people and you know where to go. But before, it was really like tourist focused art, I'll say, you know.
Well, yeah, in the mainstream it was because
Yeah, in the mainstream, I mean.
it's called bread and butter pieces. You know, boats sell. Okay, you're on the water without a doubt. A lot of portraiture as well, but they still had and always had, I guess, the Samuels family who went beyond that, and different cultures. I don't say bearers of culture. You can get close to that. You see beyond that. And yeah, you're right in terms of what was in the tourist market wasn't there. But in terms of how it's changing, you can see it. It's just incredible. It's blown up. There's Levon Bell, whose work is unbelievable. You know, once you dive in again, St. John is producing great stuff. St. Croix, as always, and St. Thomas. It's when we're able to go back, you know, freely and more comfortably, and we can still go, no passport required. Then we'll be able to see. In fact, I'll make it my charge to show you some stuff. In fact, I have work over my shoulder from a Virgin Islands artist.
Wonderful.
As a matter of fact, who traveled to, I think that one's done in former Burma, Myanmar. This is a photographer, Barbara Young.
Wonderful. So yeah, hopefully post-COVID, maybe that will change the art scene there for the better, now that there's not so many tourists to cater to, and the main street can start to have more artwork about the local culture that's that you don't have to search so hard to find if you're not from there. Because from before I used to live in St. Thomas, I've heard so many stories from people who used to visit the Virgin Islands, from people that used to visit the Virgin Islands years ago, that about how people used to come there to buy art and used to come there to buy jewelry by independent designers and by craftsmen. So it used to be very much a very art focused hub for people to come and buy really unique things. But I think, you know, the cruise ships came in, things became commercialized, and, you know, just walking around in a day, you get boats and fish.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. That tourist-based economy didn't do a whole lot for thriving arts, in my opinion, at all. But now, not now, it's gone back to its roots. It's a creative community. So again, it's closer that you get to the bearers of culture and to its cultural identity, you'll see the arts thrive and craft in ways that you hadn't noticed before. I think there are younger people now doing things that are amazing. Galleries, you know, that are managing to survive are more creative spaces, particularly both on St. John and St. Thomas that I know of for a fact, that are producing great work.
Yeah, and there's some really amazing photographers as well. I'm actually trying to buy a piece from a St. Thomas photographer right now. So yeah, if anybody's looking for art in St. Thomas or in the Virgin Islands, we say St. Thomas because we met on St. Thomas, but we love all the islands.
Let's be clear, so we don't get those.
Let's be clear, because you know the cruises are coming for us right now. We love all the islands, but we particularly share an experience on St. Thomas, so that's why we keep referring to this one particular island. But there's a lot of talent. So actually, for people that are not so familiar with what Aubrey Artworks does, why don't you explain a little bit? Because I think what you do is really important, and I think it's important to talk about because there's so many people that don't know how many job opportunities and business opportunities there are in the creative field. So tell us a little bit specifically, break it down, what you do and what Aubrey Artworks does.
All right, Aubrey Artworks, we are community curators. So we're a collection of various artists and fine crafts people from many different places. Right now we're based in Baltimore, but we still have our links in the US Virgin Islands. We have our artists that are up the Eastern Seaboard as well, in different places. And we support emerging and established artists by showcasing their work in spaces they might not otherwise be. My focus here, Aubrey Artworks stateside, is in getting these artists' work exposed in luxury living spaces. So people whose median income or rent might be at least $2,000, all right, who live in comfortable private spaces. We bring a gallery experience to them. But in addition to that, we're a resource for designers who may have just recently, in fact, one of our recent deals was purchasing art for an office of a friend who buys blocks, row houses, and he works on creating great housing as a way of giving back to the community, supplying people like that with art. Just got off the phone with another Virgin Islander, as a matter of fact, who was my student, now living here as an engineer who rebuilds houses. Says, hey, see, this is 20 minutes ago. Let's do a show on one of the houses I just redid. So we're, how do we say that? We're a resource. We're a resource for people who want to get their work out, resource for young artists, older artists. I have people in Aubrey Artworks that are above 70, okay, and many young as 21 years old, all right, that do their work. People who have been at the game for much longer than I have been alive, okay, and those who are just getting in it. We support emerging artists, basically, you know, and come up with creative ways and spaces to do what we do. In addition to that, I guess my most recent project that I'm trying to get into is helping to curate something online because of the pivot. No, gone are the days of gathering in luxury living spaces and showcasing this art now. Now, what do I do with all these artists? COVID's here. Okay, so we pivot and offered online cooking classes for kids where I stepped in. 2 artists came in and offered 2 different art classes at different levels for adults and kids as well. Every Thursday for 8 weeks, we ran that. But again, something else I got a call recently to see what contribution I could make to a club, a high-end women's club in North Carolina or Virginia or Delaware actually, who's doing something with the Gullah Geechee people.
Wonderful.
Okay, as well as a doctor who has a private collection. Well, can Aubrey Artworks help curate this coming together online by January? Well, we love things like that. You know, I was all over it. Okay, all over it. So we're doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. What else do we do? We do showcases in banks for Latino Heritage Month. I'm now working with a gallery to do the program. I just did the programming for the next 6 months into 2021 to help feature artists that might not otherwise be in this particular gallery. So there's a lot of that happening now because people are shifting. I have mentors too, so they pull me in different ways. That's what Aubrey Artworks does. We're everywhere. We want to be a resource for, say, creativity through connection is our tagline, and that's what we do. Connectors.
So if there's any artists that are interested in being represented by you and working with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you? Should they send just their website, or how can they reach you?
The best way to do it is just send me an email. You can go to aubreybburgess2@gmail.com, okay, or hit me up on Instagram at Aubrey Artworks Classroom.
Okay,
right,
and I'll make sure I post that in the description below. So if there's any artists that are interested in the exposure and the opportunities that are offered by Aubrey Artworks, I'll make sure that I post the information below. And if you're interested in hosting one of these amazing, specially curated events, we can also post the way for you to contact Aubrey below as well. So awesome. I'm super proud of you, and it's been wonderful to be your friend and to watch you grow and to watch everything that you're doing sort of start to come to fruition and blossom. So I'm really proud of you and really excited about everything that you're doing, and it's really important work. And I have discovered some amazing artists through you already. So yeah, you have a very good eye as well.
Well, I can say this to thank you. I can say the same, everything you just said back at you, because Chelcie, you're a major inspiration. The work that you produce to promote the work that you produce is mind blowing. I'm like, look at her graphics. Who does the graphics? I'm like, Chelcie does the graphics. Look at the warmth, look at the color, look at the detail, look at the font. Oh, and then what's the project itself? I think the last thing you and I were working on was you asked me to edit a letter for you to try to get support for a piece you were working on in Africa. I'm like, she's you just continue to do great things, and I'm glad that I'm still connected with you. And I'd like you to show up in Aubrey Artworks Showcase when this is over. All right.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can't wait until I can get out, get out of quarantine, and I can't wait until we are physically reunited again. But I'm very glad that we've never lost touch and that we remain close, and that we're kind of going on this journey together because we have so many similarities and things that we believe in and are interested in. So I'm glad to be on the road with you for sure.
Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you for this time.
Thank you for your time. You have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you. Thank you.
Bye, sweetie.
Bye-bye.